Boston Celtics just advanced to the NBA Finals. Now, while this statement is most likely to be correct in about a week, it isn't fully correct right now. And that's because only one game has been played, but it was a crucial game. A game in which the Pacers went into Boston as huge underdogs and kept up with them the entire game. In fact, they should have won this game. After a brutal corner three from Jaylen Brown to tie the game up and send it to OT, the Pacers collapsed in overtime and Jason Tatum finally woke up. Real quick, if you guys haven't, make sure to sub up. We're on the road to 3K subs. But man, what a game one was. The Pacers stayed in it with the Celtics the whole time. A lot of people didn't expect this. Even like Vegas, like the betting, whatever, the sports bettors, they had the Celtics coming in as basically 10-point favorites. So for those of you that don't really understand betting, if you were to bet on this game, you have to give the Pacers 10 points to make it fair. And in my mind, if the Pacers are going to be going, head to head with the Celtics till the final whistle, the Pacers have to win that game, because how many more times is that going to happen? The Pacers, and obviously the Celtics do too, but you got to win 4 games in this series. It's a 7-game series. You got to do this 4 times where you're going head to head with the Celtics and you can edge out a win. And so I just don't know how many more games the Pacers are going to be, neck and neck with the Celtics until the very end. And that's kind of why the title is what it is. The Indiana Pacers don't stand a chance. After losing game 1, I would give them like a 1% chance to win the series, because they were already huge underdogs coming into it. This is one that they had to win. They had to win. I feel like you guys all know it as well. They had to win it if they really wanted to give themselves a good shot at winning the series. And it's weird because how the game started, the Celtics went on a 12-0 run. You had Jason Tatum like clapping his hands after the first play. I was thinking this series is about to be a sweep. Like how it started, I was like, oh, the Pacers don't stand a chance. Like the Celtics are on this type of timing. They're rested. They've been, resting for about a week, and they're coming out on a 12-0 run. I thought it was about to be a flood. Celtics were about to win by 30, but the Pacers fought back to make it a little close in the first quarter. And then by halftime, it was 64-64, a fresh game going into the second half. And we all know it. If you were watching the game just like me, the Pacers should have won this game, and that's what makes it so bad. That's what makes it hurt so much for this Pacers team. Halliburton he's gotta be losing sleep. I mean, that sounds a little weird to say, but it was one of those games where you might lose sleep over it because of how you executed down the stretch. The Pacers were up 117-114 with 30 seconds left, and they had the ball. Halliburton comes down. What does he do? He dribbles it off of his foot and turns the ball over. Now, all of a sudden, the Celtics had life, where the Pacers could have won up by potentially, 5 or 6 points or just chewed clock. Halliburton comes down and dribbles it off his foot for a turnover. The Celtics come down. Derek White misses a layup, but the Celtics get the rebound, and Jason Tatum takes an awkward turnaround fade, which, by the way, I thought Jason Tatum in the fourth quarter was just bad. He missed, I don't even know the exact amount of shots, but leading up to this final point at the end of the game, Tatum had missed 6 shots. Maybe he had a turnover mixed in there. It was just a really bad fourth quarter, and he was playing pretty solid, for the rest of the game. But in the fourth quarter, when they needed him most, Jason Tatum, I felt like, was nowhere to be found. And also, speaking about that awkward turnaround fade that he took, I thought that they could have got a better shot. They could have brought it out, reset it, maybe hit someone for a 3, and Tatum just took that weird fade and missed it. I thought they could have got a better shot than that. And so the Pacers got the ball. They still have this win in the palm of their hands. The Celtics didn't capitalize on Halliburton dribbling it off his foot, but then Andrew Nembhard passes the ball out of bounds, up 3 with 8 seconds left. So the Celtics once again have life. Now the Pacers are in a weird spot because they're up 3 and there's 8 seconds on the clock. Celtics ball. Now, LeBron James on his whole podcast with JJ Redick, they were speaking about this literally, 2 weeks ago. They were speaking about this exact situation. And that situation is fouling when you're up 3. And the Pacers and Rick Carlisle opted not to do it. I was thinking it literally in the moment right after it happened. I was like, bro, you have to foul. You have to foul there because, you give him 2 shots, you get ball, you're still in control. With the way that the NBA is in the current state or whatever, the players are just too good. You got players like Jaylen Brown, which I'll play the clip real quick. They get it to Jaylen Brown and he just shoots it over Siakam to tie the game. And, this game eventually goes to overtime. The players are just too good. You can't give the, people, especially like the Celtics with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, you can't give them a chance to force this game to overtime. You got to foul them, give him 2 shots, you get ball, you control your own destiny. Now the thing is, this wasn't at the buzzer, so the Pacers still kind of could control their destiny. It was 117 to 117. Halliburton gets the inbound, and at first it looked like he was going to shoot it. He ends up dribbling over to Tatum and taking a really awkward forced 3. Just he had to get it up at the buzzer, but I kind of felt like he was ball hogging. Maybe I'm misreading this, maybe I'm just wrong, but I thought either when he first caught it and dribbled up into Derek White, I thought he was going to shoot over him. You know, Halliburton likes to hit deep threes. He even hit one in this game from the logo. I thought he was either going to shoot that. It probably wouldn't have been the smartest of shots though, because the Celtics would have got the ball back. You know what I'm saying? You probably want to take the last shot in this scenario. So I wasn't too mad at him not shooting that first 3, but what he should have did was he probably should have just drove in, try to attack, get aggressive, get some contact, maybe get some free throws. Or when he drove over and got the switch on a Tatum, I thought maybe you should have just passed it into Miles Turner, who I think it was just Jaylen Brown down there with like Aaron Naismith. You have Miles Turner who could potentially float it in or something like that. I really hate the execution there at the end of regulation from Halliburton. Then the overtime period pretty much started pretty slow, but if we fast forward to where there was 1 minute to go, Pacers are down 1 with ball, and Halliburton gets absolutely hounded by Jrue Holiday and falls out of bounds. I mean, this is one of the craziest defensive possessions I've seen in a minute. Like Jrue, we know he's a DPOY caliber player, but he showed up. When the Celtics needed him most, Jrue Holiday put the absolute clamps on Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, he was boxed and he just fell out of bounds. Again, another crucial turnover from Tyrese Halliburton when the Pacers needed him most. And it sucks to even be talking about this because Halliburton is one of the best, you know, assist to turnover ratio players in the game. He's one of the safest players with the ball in the NBA. But last night, it was rough. And so then right after this, Jason Tatum ends up hitting a 3 and an assist from Derek White. Then after that, Jaylen Brown ends up getting a steal on Pascal Siakam, and there's 30 seconds left, and at this point, it's pretty much game over. Again, speaking on Jason Tatum, he had a pretty good, you know, first, second, and third quarter. I thought his fourth quarter was pretty horrendous, but in overtime, he kind of got going. Once they got that lead too, he hit a 3. He also had an and 1 on TJ McConnell right before it. So he kind of made up for his fourth quarter mess ups, if you want to say that, in overtime. But still, I want to, like, I don't want to be I'm not a hater. I'm just being realistic. Jason Tatum, and this goes for any star that wants to be the face of the league or wants to just, you know what I'm saying, be him. You got to get it done in regulation. You got to get it done when your team needs you most. Jaylen Brown bailed them out. Jaylen Brown hit that corner 3 to force overtime and really give the Celtics this win essentially. But if they lost this, everyone would have been talking about Jason Tatum and what he did in the fourth quarter, missing, how many shots he missed, that awkward turnaround fade he missed at the end. He also missed a 3 at the end of the fourth quarter, wide open. It was just bad. Now, an interesting stat about this game is the Pacers had 21 turnovers. That's a lot. And the Celtics had 14. So that's 35 turnovers total from both teams. That's the third most in an NBA playoff game ever. You'd have to go all the way back to the 1970s where there was 2 teams, I forget them, like Bulls and Warriors or something like that, who had more. They had 36. So third most ever in this game. In my opinion, this is good for the Pacers. It's not good in the fact that they had 21 turnovers. You just got to cut down on that. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. If it does, I mean, honestly, that's crazy they were even in this game with 21 turnovers. But it's good for the Pacers in the fact, or in the way that, you know, they want to play at this fast pace. They obviously have the fastest pace in the NBA. It's obviously a coincidence that their team name is the Indiana Pacers, but they want to play their way. They want to play the Pacers brand of basketball, and that is by playing fast and by generating turnovers, running out in transition. So the Celtics with 14 turnovers, again, 35 turnovers total. That's kind of the brand of basketball the Pacers want to play. And again, obviously they want to cut down on their own turnovers, but game 1, I felt like it was fast paced. They were kind of making the Celtics play how the Pacers want to play. Now, something that I was talking about in my last video that I said would be crucial for this series and for this Boston Celtics team to have success is Kristaps Porzingis. Obviously, he's out game 1. I think he's going to be out game 2, and possibly he could be out longer. I think the expectation is he comes back game 3. But hey, if the Celtics go up 2-0, maybe they say, Porzingis, let's rest a little longer. But the Celtics missed Porzingis badly in this game. Miles Turner was just having his way in the first quarter. He started off hot, and I want to say like 12 points in the first quarter. He finished with 23. Pascal Siakam was hitting everything in the mid-range. He was attacking the basket. 24 points for Pascal. The paint D was looking cruised. for the Celtics. Al Horford and Luke Kornet had no answers. So the Celtics need Porzingis back. Of course, they still came out with the victory in this one. They shouldn't have, but they did. And you'd love to say, you know, I don't know if Miles Turner and Siakam could do this again, but it kind of feels like they could. Al Horford looked outmatched. You got Luke Kornet, who's just not the best, coming off the bench to help out in some of these matchups when they're getting killed. But Siakam and Turner combining for almost 50 points. I feel like it could happen again. It definitely will. At some point in the series, possibly game 2, game 3. The paint D's looking bad. The Celtics are missing Porzingis right now. Something that I thought in this game, and I definitely feel it, you know, moving forward for the rest of the series, is how huge Aaron Nesmith has to be. And I feel like he was kind of in this first game, although Tatum ended with 36 points. Nesmith's matchup on Jason Tatum is going to be crucial. If he can shut him down again in the fourth quarter, Tatum was nowhere to be found. And then in overtime, Aaron Nesmith ends up fouling out. And what happens? Jason Tatum finally gets going and the Celtics win this game. So I think Nesmith was solid in game 1, and especially offensively. I've been talking about Aaron Nesmith a lot. He's slowly turning into one of my favorite players, I guess. I think he's a, you know, most improved caliber player for, you know, maybe next year, maybe the season after. I think he has that type of potential. Offensively, he's been really solid. He gets them kind of bailout buckets when they need him most. But it's going to be defensively for Aaron Nesmith in this series. He has to show up and shut down Tatum. And again, we already spoke about him, but Pascal Siakam was just great in this game. 24 points, 12 boards, 7 assists. He has to be great in this series if the Pacers want to have a single chance, and he was in game 1. I love Pascal's aggressiveness. Again, at the end of the game when Jaylen Brown ended up getting that steal from him, it kind of killed him. But I want to see Pascal stay aggressive. I want to see him continue to kill this, you know, weak Celtics interior defense, weak rim protection with no Kristaps Porzingis. And again, I want to speak more on Jason Tatum because I don't want to come off as a hater. I just am realistic about what is going on. He did not have a great fourth quarter, but overall his game was great. And what I want to say is when Jason Tatum is not scoring, and this doesn't happen for a lot of other superstars, let's say Luka Doncic comes to mind or some other guys, but Jason Tatum is impacting winning in other ways. Defensively, he's a monster, and he's always on the boards getting like 10 rebounds per game. So he's always finding a way to impact winning even when he's not scoring. And I was digging a little deeper because I was just curious. I wanted to look at some advanced stats and stuff. And so what I found is and this has been a thing coming into this game. They were number 1. I think they had the highest in like NBA history or something, but the Pacers are number 1 in offensive rating in this playoffs with a 121.2. The Celtics have 118.8. So that's how big the margin is in offensive rating. The Pacers also have the highest assist to turnover ratio, 2.63 to the Celtics 2.01. That's a pretty big margin, and it's not really surprising because I mentioned it earlier how, you know, you got Halliburton, TJ McConnell. These are just great assist to turnover guys. And they also have the highest effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage. So the Pacers this playoffs, especially offensively, have been insane. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep it up through this, you know, 7-game series potentially against one of, if not the best defenses in the entire NBA in the Boston Celtics. And I kind of want to speak on the construct of this series. Again, we all know it. The Pacers had to win that game. If they want to really give themselves a good chance of winning the series in a game where you are neck and neck with the best team in the NBA, you got to win. You got to steal it. You got to steal the game in Boston, win game 1. But now that they didn't, and I'm not going to lie, I could be wrong. Pacers could come out and win, but it really feels like the Celtics are due. It feels like the Celtics are due, and they're going to have like a blowout win in game 2, or they're going to win by at least 10. That's what it feels like to me. So in my mind, it feels pretty likely that the Celtics are going to go up 2-0, because it's very unlikely that the Pacers are going to stay neck and neck with the Celtics in Boston for 2 games. Game 1 they needed. So now in my mind, it's already 2-0, and it just feels like the Celtics in this series against a Pacers team who, let's be honest, 47-35. The Celtics were what, 24-18? That's the difference in skill between these teams. I know the playoffs is a different beast, but the Celtics have been them this year. They've been that team. So it kind of feels like in the series, the Celtics are like going to get 2 blowout wins. Now that's not a guarantee. That's just kind of what it feels like in my mind. And I feel like game 2 is going to be one of those blowout wins. They're going to have another one. That's 3 wins right there. So I don't know. It's going to be tough for the Pacers to come back. It is. Can they do it? I'm not going to count them out. I'll give them like a 1% chance because I do like this Pacers team a lot, but not looking good right now at all for this Indiana Pacers team.